So anybody that has leather um, should know. A lot of people don't know about leather care. One thing being, people think that you can't get leather wet. The thing is, you can absolutely fucking get leather wet. It's drying it that's the issue. If you get it wet and just let it sit to dry, it's probably going to end up shrinking on you, unless it's like really good conditioned leather. And by conditioned, I mean like oiled. Like you probably had to have oiled it yourself, unless it's like brand fucking new. But if you've had it for a while, you definitely would have had to have oiled it yourself. And they sell plenty of leather oils. One of the best ones that I've ever owned is one called Neats Foot. I believe it's Neets Foot, and it comes in a not jug bottle that looks similar to motor oil, where it's got that clear line down the side of it, so you can see what the content level is. Um, but then there's other brands that you can buy. But what I found works the best, and you have to obviously, the reason why I'm talking about this is it's that time of year where you're bringing stuff back out that you might not have worn in a while. Um, the same thing like you'd have to do for the winter. You're taking out the leather jackets that you didn't wear all year. Now it's winter time, and they're dull, they're dry, so you oil them, and oiling them, for one, prevents them from absorbing water. So if they do get wet, when they dry, they're not going to shrink up on you. Now, like I was starting to say, you can get leather wet. It's just drying. It's the issue. I put all of my leather right in the washing machine. I just don't put it in the dryer. I made the mistake of putting it in the dryer when I was younger, and it ends up the leather shrinks, but the lining doesn't, and you end up with this baggy liner. And if there's any, um, what's it called? If there's any insulation in it, the insulation is going to be like hanging down with the liner out the back of your jacket. Um, Same thing with the sleeves. The liner will be sticking out the end of the sleeves, and the sleeves will be noticeably shorter and tighter. Then you start to get wrinkles in it and shit, so that doesn't look good. So what you do is you just keep it oiled. So, like I was saying, I just oiled this. I'm gonna have to oil it some more, but I just oiled my vest because it was getting dry on me. You can see a lot of these dry spots on there that are still dry, but it's better than it was a little while ago. So what I do is I have this is inside of this. You can see it is a hospital sock. So I took the hospital sock, folded it over itself so it was 4 layers thick, and then took the 3 layers and tucked it. So I rolled it from the toe to the ankle, basically, and then take the ankle part and tuck the 3 layers with the toe part into it, so it stays. And then that's what this outside piece is too. It's a like a tall dress sock that I folded the same way, and then had it so it was like a little pocket, and tucked that inside. So this is like my oiling sponge. But what works way better, that I found, and I like the smell way better than this fucking synthetic bullshit, is used motor oil. Um, Plus the colors better. When you get any of this shit, it's not colored. It's just clear. So if your jacket or whatever your piece of leather is, if it's worn through to the point where you can no longer see the dyed color on the top, you're just seeing the leather, the pulp itself. Um, you're gonna you're gonna want to put some coloring on it, like that. How you can see the tan inside of it. Let's see if I get another spot I can. Yeah, see, because I just put motor oil on this, so you're not really gonna see it. I guess right there is as good a spot as any. How you can see that it's not black. Um, So use motor oil on those works well, especially use motor oil. Regular motor oil when it's new isn't going to stain it the color like any darker. Um, so yeah, that's the way to fold the little sponge thing. And in the bottle, I have inside of this one because they're not fucking paying me to advertise. No, I'm just kidding. I have it on there because it drips a lot. The bottle gets all oily. So one trick that I have is you put it inside of another piece of sock like this. Usually I just take one and tie it like this, cut the end off, and then the end is what I use as my rag. Um, and then this one just continues getting saturated with oil. So rather than dumping out of the cap onto my rag, I can just press my rag against this and it gets enough on there. When you first put oil on, first time that year, you're going to want to apply it very generously. It will soak in. Whatever doesn't soak in, wipe off afterwards. But that's one big thing is always keep your leather oiled. And the thing is if you've never oiled it, um, and you don't, it's going to cut down the life of your leather drastically. And then also, if it's ever gotten wet, especially if it's gotten like sweaty, like that's the thing. If you have like I have a leather hat, right? So the hat and the vest both they get saturated with sweat. So when that happens, there's salt in the sweat, obviously, and just like a regular baseball hat or a t-shirt, you can see sweat lines when it dries. So hats, that will happen to hats, and that dries it out, and it's going to start to crack over time. And the cracks, if it's to the point where it's cracking, that means that there's really no repairing that, because before you start to see the crack, that area is already starting to dematerialize, and that's why a crack ends up forming there. But prior to the crack becoming apparent visually, um, it's already beginning to take away from the integrity of the material. So you want to cut it off before that even starts to happen. So I keep all my shit oiled. Again, putting it in the dryer, not something you want to do. You can wash leather if you really, really need to. There shouldn't really be a need to, other than just like spot cleaning with like a wet cloth, um, or whatever. Like I had some water-based paint on my Harley jacket for a long time, and just said fuck it and left it there. And then one day I spilled coffee on it, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking wipe the whole thing down. I started doing it, and I noticed that the paint actually started coming off, and I was like, oh fuck it. So I put a few minutes into it, and sure as shit, got it all off. So I'm happy with myself about that. Kind of pissed off I waited as long as I did, but like with my hat, just oiled it. Did the outside a lot, and then this part of the brim, and then the inside I was able to do it because it's got the headband thing around the inside. So I did it just above that, not down behind it, because if I did behind it, obviously it's going to soak back through the headliner and onto my skin, which I don't really want. Um, but I wanted to get the inside done as well. So I did every part that's not touching that pretty liberally. Um, and then could have wiped the extra off, but I didn't need to because it all did soak in. So with most leather, if it's never been oiled, whether it's boots, anything, I always oil my boots too, because especially after, like during and after wintertime, with all the salt on the ground and everything, they will start to crack, and that sucks. They crack where the crease is up at the toe area, or they'll split up the back, because that also affects the stitching. When when leather starts to dry and shrink or contort or whatever, it's definitely going to affect the stitching, and also the integrity of the material around the stitching, because you got to figure it's a perforated line. It's basically a fold and tear here, um, like a coupon. So you want to keep that as moist as possible, um, and it helps waterproof them as well. So yeah, with boots, it's a definite must. Um, but yeah, the first time you put it on, it's if it's new, it's gonna seem like it's not really soaking in at all, and that's good. But you still want to put it on anyway. That way you can kind of force it in there, and then the it'll kind of push out whatever is in there, whatever um, solvents or whatever they use to treat it before selling it, so you can get it used to being oiled. Um, and then, yeah, every time after that, it's not going to need as much. With this vest, it's probably been like 2 or 3 years since I oiled it, so it did just take a significant amount. Like I said, I'm going to have to do it again. But with the hat, I I had oiled it. I had oiled it when I first got it. I think I might have oiled it once after that, but didn't really wear it that much. But I've been wearing it a lot lately, so it definitely needed the oil a bit because there were spots where you can see the edge of the leather, and you could see that the edge was dry, like where it's folded over and stitched. And then with the vest, it's like all the edges are where you start to notice it first. But if you're noticing it on the edges, it means that the larger flat areas are definitely feeling it. So you want to get the whole thing oiled. Um, but like with the first time I did the vests and jackets, I had a jacket I got from my uncle that sat in his shed for a number of years. He never wore a jacket ever, just always a t-shirt. So the fact that he even had a jacket at all ever was kind of surprising. But he had passed away, so I got this jacket, and it's a lightweight leather jacket. It's more like a leather, like button-up shirt kind of. All the buttons say or snaps. They're all snaps. They all say USA on them. The only thing is when I got it, it really smelled like shed, like basement. Um, but it had a Harley patch in it that used to be on the back of it. So that was in the pocket, the breast pocket. All it has is breast pockets and one inside breast pocket. Doesn't have any lower ones. So that's why I say it's more like a shirt, but it's lightweight, so it's nice to wear like over a hoodie, a lightweight hoodie, or just in the fall in general. But when I first got it, I washed it a bunch of times. I made the mistake of drying it in the dryer, so it did get that bunched up lining. So what I ended up having to do was oil the shit out of it and stretch it, and I was able to get it back to its normal size, like completely to its normal surface area. The only issue was that the neck had gotten damaged from being over dried, so it cracked, and then when I was stretching that, it tore because of how moist it was to be stretched. So that does need to be repaired, which is kind of a drag. But it's one of those collars that goes straight up. It doesn't fold back over itself. So it and then that one button that was there's one snap on that part, and that one snap does not say USA. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise. It would be easy to repair. I just haven't done it. I just wear hoodies with it, so it covers the neck part. But I definitely want to fix that. But that one, yeah, it took a shitload of oil. And then a jacket that I gave my son, I had bought it, I believe, when I was 17. I had bought two leather jackets in my life, and I had gotten $100 bill for either Christmas or my birthday on two separate occasions. And each time I opted to go to Wilson's Leather because there used to be Wilson's Leather at the mall and in Brockton, and I went, or Walpole maybe. I went and I bought the jacket. It was $99.99, no tax. So I got a penny back and kept the penny in the jacket. One of them I still have. It's a diagonal zip um, motorcycle jacket with like the small cigarette pack pocket on the lower portion. And it's got a couple diagonal pockets on the outside, and they come with like a belt buckle thing that goes around the waist, which I cut off. I should have left it hanging. Um, and then the shoulder strap things with the little snap that I put spikes in. Um, yeah, that was the first one I got. Then the one I got that I ended up giving him, but it was so stiff. I wore it from when I was 17 until probably like 23, 24, something like that. Um, and it sat for a good like 10 years. It just, and then I'd washed it and dried it a few times. So, but it was just really stiff. So I oiled it and got it very relaxed and gave it to him because at this point it was too small on me. But it was like a bomber style jacket with a little bit of elastic on the sides at the bottom, but not in the back. Cool jacket. I liked it a lot, and it has a zip in lining, which I forgot to give him. But yeah, the first time you oil things, it's going to end up sucking up a lot of it, but it's good. So let it do that. Um, and then after you get it, and wear it well. It's oil it as much as you can get in there, and then wear it around. Let that let your motions relax it, and then oil it, oil it again at the end of that time. And if you let it sit for the night, whatever, but oil it multiple times until it stops absorbing. And once it stops absorbing, you'll definitely be able to tell immediately, and then it's good to go. If need be, if it's really, 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 really stiff, what you can do is you can like roll it up into balls and like sit on it and like fucking just keep twisting it and turning it like I do with any of my leather vests, pants, boots, everything. When I first get them, I bend them every way possible before I start wearing them. Like with my boots, I'll bend them. I'll bend the toe all the way underneath till it touches the heel. I'll grab the toe and the heel and twist them both in opposite directions, and then do it the opposite way too. Then the top of it, the part that comes up your leg, I'll I'll take that and I'll roll it down and roll it back up, and then twist that side to side, and then it prevents any stress fractures in the future, and also breaks them in way quicker, so it's way more comfortable to wear. You don't end up getting calluses or anything, and that's a big thing. If you oil your leather boots, you're not going to end up with calluses. Uh, and then say, like with the vest and pants and everything, it's always you end up putting them on, and then you like do like squats and shit to get them stretched. Same thing like when you take a pair of jeans out of the dryer, even if you've had them forever, you still first time you put it on, you gotta do some stretching wearing them. But I do that with all my leathers um, when I first oil them. So yeah, there's my tips and tricks for leather. Everybody have a day.